So I had this patient, right, and they came into me with TMJD. You got to put the D in there. It's a temporomandibular joint disorder. And if you don't say it with the D, all you're actually saying is, I have TMJ. I have a temporomandibular joint. And it turns out you, in fact, have two of them, one on each side. Maybe that's a pet peeve of mine. Too late at this point in my life. In any case, with temporomandibular joint disorder, it's a bit of a hyperfunction of the joint. It's completely normal for that joint when opening, the power of technology, when opening to slide forward just a little bit. So as that joint comes forward, it comes out of the socket, quote unquote, just a tiny little bit, just enough. Now, on the other hand, if we have temporomandibular joint, it comes so far out of the socket that it actually creates an audible clicking sound as it does. And this is a problem. Not only does it not feel good, it feels unstable, but it's very annoying if every single time you chew, you get this click, 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 click all day long, especially if you're eating all day or chewing gum. Probably don't chew gum. In any case, we've got to explain this somehow. So you'll notice that the temporomandibular joint here has strong ligamentous reinforcement, especially on this anterior side, on this front side. A big, thick ligament. And it's there for a reason. It's got to be there for a reason. And it's to prevent the sliding forward that we see in temporomandibular joint disorder. So we know that something has happened there. Something has overloaded that ligament, and now it's become lax. It's moving too much. You'll notice the temporomandibular joint has all the other features of any synovial joint. It's got a fluid layer, of course. It's got a capsule around it, so there'll be an encapsulation like so all the way around. We're going to get rid of that, though. And it's actually got a disc. And it's got a disc with two separate synovial compartments, so you know it moves quite a bit, and it's made to move quite a bit. But it's moving quite excessively here. So, how did it get there? Great question. It's probably a left-to-right relationship. Maybe this is based off a few people. I don't know. In any case, when we have an overmobile, we'll say overmobile, hypomobile TMJ on the one side, you can bet that you've got something else going on the opposite side. So if we're saying the right is the problem, the left is probably doing something. And the left is often restricted, so it's tied up. It's got extra thick tissue on the one side holding it all together. If this is hypermobile, then the left side, the opposite side, is less mobile. And so that means that chances are they're going to be hyperextending their other side constantly to compensate. How this happened is hard to say. It could be potentially they were eating too much only on the one side. Maybe switching sides would alleviate it, but in some ways the damage has been done. Perhaps they had an injury, an impact injury that compressed one side and hypermobilized the other. It's not going to be 100% of cases, though. Interestingly, a lot of the hyoid muscles, the muscles attached to the underside of the jaw, that actually attach to the hyoid bone, good name on their point, and then go to the infrahyoid muscles, they all attach to the sternum and the clavicles, and to an extent the first ribs. And perhaps a twist down there could off-center the jaw, much like other things do in the body. So, that being said, we have no idea what caused it. And it's unfortunate, it is rather unfortunate because this ligament has become lax, and now that joint is popping very significantly, very annoyingly so. And we need something to reinforce that anterior tissue, this tissue that's running down this side. And it's a shame because there's nothing there that could potentially reinforce. There's nothing on that anterior side that could work to correct the length and the space within that tissue. There doesn't seem to be any tissues at all that run that exact same orientation, and by strengthening them could potentially correct this clicking that's happening over and over again.